Hello and welcome back to another episode of Math with Sohn. Today, we're going to be looking at congruent triangles and what they are and what that means for us. Let's get into it. So a congruent triangle is something where the triangle is identical. And that would mean that the sides and the angles would be the same. And that means that the corresponding parts, well, corresponding means are like the triangle, the parts that are the same, the ones that look the same, the sides and the angles of those corresponding parts of those triangles would also be congruent. A congruency statement is when you literally just say that the two triangles are going to be congruent. And when they say it this way, it actually matters the order in which they're said. So angle A and angle D would be considered equal, and they have the single hash mark to describe that. Angle B and angle E, they are also equal, and they have a double hash mark there. And angle C and angle F, they're the last letter in the triangles, and because they're both the last letter in the triangles, they are both going to be considered equal as well. So C and F are equal. Now, you may notice that this kind of looked like it reflected over. A congruent triangle is something that has just been moved, reflected, or rotated, but it's the same triangle. You could say the same thing about the sides too, where AB, side AB, is equal to DE, and it is in the same order on this congruency statement. So this congruency statement can tell you a lot of things. So CPCTC, you'll hear me mispronounce it plenty of times because that is way too many C's and P's and T's and stuff. What is it? Well, that means that corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. So if you were told that two triangles are equal to each other, then you could figure out that all other angles and sides of that triangle would also be equal. And that is corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. So we're going to do a few practice problems with this, and they are right here. So if you're just given this congruency statement, and you were told that these two triangles are equal, then you would know that corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. You could say that angle J is going to be congruent to angle P because they're in the same spot on your triangle. You could also say the last letter, angle L, is congruent to angle R. Got to put the congruent symbol there. Now, you don't have to just use one letter to describe an angle. You could always use three letters. Like here, instead of saying just plain old angle B, I could say that as angle A, B in the middle, C. So just to show you that it could be done a little bit different, I'm going to say angle JKL, K in the middle, is congruent to angle PQR, Q in the middle. And this is completely different than the original thing because here we have angle symbols and here we had triangle symbols. Now the sides that are equal would be having to be using two letters. So a side can't just be side A. It's side AB on this triangle, not just side A. So in here we have side JK would have to be congruent to side PQ, the first two letters there. And side KL, the last two letters, would have to be congruent to the last two letters QR. And last but not least, you may think that we're done. We actually have the first and last letters J and L and P and R. JL would have to be congruent to PR as well. And those would be how you would extract your congruent sides and angles from a congruency statement. Write another valid congruency statement. Well, another valid congruency statement is anything that connects the same J to P and K to Q and L to R, but you would just have to rewrite it in a different order. So if we wanted to write another valid congruency statement, all we would have to do is say that triangle let's just write it backwards. LKJ is congruent to triangle RQP. We still would have J and P be the letters that connect each other, and therefore it is the same exact congruency statement, but just written a slightly different way to describe the triangles. So, one at the bottom of the page, we have, given that these two triangles are equal, we could do this probably without the congruency statement. Complete each of the following. So what would KM be equal to? Well, KM looks like this long diagonal side, and CA looks like that same long diagonal side. And if we looked at the congruency statement, we could also confirm that C and A are the first and last letters, and K and M are the first and last letters. Order does matter with this, though. So if they started with the first letter and having the first letter here could be considered slightly incorrect depending on who you ask. So I would have preferred if we actually flipped this around, and instead of saying C and A, we should have really have been saying A and C if we wanted to be 100% correct, because it was K and M, it should be first and last letters A and C. And that is strictly because the sides, we're talking about slightly different angles when we talk about K versus M, and therefore order would matter in some situations. Let's do a different one. What is angle K going to be equal to? Well, angle K is here, and if you notice that this triangle looks like it's kind of flipped over, angle A would be what relates to that, and the congruency statement also confirms it. I'm looking at the completely wrong thing. Angle Y clearly relates to angle P, so I'm going to fill that in. Y and P are equal to each other, and they're the middle letter. Side PK, from P to K, is right here, so we should go from middle to the first letter, which is side Y to A. I have no idea why I did this out of order, but I'm kind of liking it still either way. CY is right here. Well, that would be equal to either PM or MP. Now, if we look at C, C is on the kind of outside going towards what I would consider the center of this triangle, the obtuse angle. So I would want to go from M, the outside, going towards the center, which is P on this guy. So M to P in the same order. Angle ACY is ACY right here, this angle. It went first letter, last letter, middle. First letter for K, last letter for M, middle letter for P. Angle K, first letter, M, P, last letter, middle. ACY, KMP, the middle letters are the ones that matter the most. Triangle MPK. Triangle MPK is just written backwards, so I'm going to write CYA backwards as well. And it had a triangle there, so I have to have a triangle here. Triangle YAC, however, is middle, first, last. So we have to go middle, first, last here as well. So that would be middle, P, first, last, triangle symbol. All right, we're going to do one more on the back, and then we're going to call it a day for this. So on the back, we got number 4. It says, given that these two triangles are equal, find the measure of each angle. So in this case, they actually want us to find the length of it or the angle measurement rather than just saying it's side Q or angle R. So we're actually going to find out which one's which here. So what I want to first do is I want to use this diagram to figure out what is each side and what is each angle. So angle S is equal to angle B, so I can fill in 67 there. Whereas here I have an 82, and that is on angle N. I could fill that in on angle W, and that is going to be 82. So I put an N and then I put an 82. you could just put the 82. So we have a 9 and a 17. Well, knowing these are the same triangles, here I don't have a 9 or a 17, but I'm betting the 9 is the short side and 17 is the longer side, which would make 14 be the missing side over here because we didn't have the 14 over here. And we could confirm it, Fn is equal to Tw over here. So we can fill in almost everything that we got now. We have Bn, that was 9 centimeters apparently. TW is 14 centimeters. BF, we filled it in, is 17 centimeters. Angle W is right here. We filled that in, and that is 82 degrees. Angle B, we filled that in, that is 67 degrees. But angle F we haven't found yet. But luckily for us, we have two angles in a triangle. We can find the third by adding up the 67 and 82, getting us 149. And if we have 149 between both of these, if we took that away from 180, 149 taken away from 180 is 31 degrees. And that would be what angle F is, and that was what I had written down as well. That's going to do it for today's episode. Until next time, I will see everybody later. Have a great day.